daydreaming about the way you're feeling. Oh honey, I wish it were true. Just thinking of the way it would feel to be needed by you. But if you want me to, I'll be there for you. Through all of your fears, I'll make them disappear. If you want me to, I'll make your dreams come true. Oh, every day you'll hear her say.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living in the Limelight. I'm your host, Jay Huller. As a quick reminder, please follow us on Instagram at Living in the Limelight Show and check out our website at livinginthelimelight.com. And of course, you can find our podcasts at almost all of the major streaming services. Every week, we feature another conversation with a stage performer where we delve into what makes them tick and hopefully get a little glimpse into some of the behind-the-scenes action. Ella Greenbaum, artistically known as Ellakate, is an alternative pop singer-songwriter born, raised, and based in Atlanta, Georgia. Growing up with musical parents and a knack for creating and performing, Ellakate found a passion for music that went beyond forcing her brothers to listen to her melodies as a child. She has written hundreds of songs since her childhood, exploring topics that coincide with the journey of growing up and finding love, filling piles of notebooks in her room with song lyrics. Ellakate's songs recount stories and experiences that may not have happened to her, but are inspired by events that have impacted her. Her voice has been compared to a young Amy Winehouse, showing her vocal prowess, honest and sensual, with a hint of innocence. Her sultry vocals, mixed with her haunting, bold, and romantic sound, is reminiscent of artists like Billie Eilish and Lana. She has plans to release music throughout 2023 and perform live shows in addition to casual appearances. Ellakate is a breath of fresh air in the musical climate, writing exactly what we're all thinking and spinning it in a mature yet cheeky way. So let's welcome Ellakate to the show.
Hello.
Ellakate, how are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Welcome to Living in the Limelight.
Thanks.
I hear you're in Nashville. I just want to jump right on that first before anything else and tell me, how is recording going?
It's going great. I'm having a lot of fun and we're getting a lot done.
That's
so
amazing.
I'm here for 5 days and we're recording 4 of those days.
Excellent.
So.
Yeah, for the maybe the younger artists, although you're young yourself, but for the kids who are just like coming up and maybe know nothing about that, who are using their home equipment to just put together songs in SoundCloud and whatnot, kind of walk us through. I'd love to know this myself. I've never actually been into a music recording studio. What is it like? Is it an inspiring environment? Is it intimidating? Is it artistic? Do you have a go-to place that you like to use, some people you always work with? What's just kind of paint the picture of what the recording process is like in a studio?
I personally don't find it intimidating. I can see how it would be intimidating to some people. But I think, like, if you're there for a few hours and stuff, you may feel kind of nervous or uncomfortable the first hour, but it'll wear off. And whoever you're recording with, you'll kind of warm up to each other. I'm recording with a producer, and his name is Alex Devore, and he's really awesome. And yeah, we're at a studio right now that you rent it out for the day, and it's connected to the hotel we're staying in, which is very cool. I think that's pretty useful. I've recorded in different places, but this one is the most often one I've used, and it's cool. It has these random, like, old things in it. Like, there's this old shoe mold and this random, like, old doorknob attached to a place with no door. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, are there old musical instruments in there and just things that are laying around that you might want to pick up and go, hey, I've never played the mandolin before, or, whatever the case may be? Or is it kind of more of a sterile environment, and you go in and do your thing and kind of, like you said, go to the hotel or go over somewhere else and get the juices flowing about your creativity again? Or how do you find this place?
So I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Okay, let me turn me up just a little bit and see if that helps. I try not to overwhelm the listeners with my voice because you're the voice that's important. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, sorry about that. I was trying to just imagine, as you described the doorknob and whatnot, as I'm trying to put this place in my head and for everyone else. Is this, would you say, like a typical studio recording environment that we would envision, where the console is there and you're in the booth area, you're doing vocals one day maybe, and then some, you're mixed with some musicians in another room another time? Or how is this layout going, and what's your process like?
Yeah, it's what you would kind of imagine. There's a vocal booth that's next to all the like fancy equipment stuff. Right now we're just using like computer stuff. Well, Alex plays keyboard and he played keyboard, but the first song we worked on, he played the keyboard, but he's going to send it over to his friend who plays guitar, and then his friend will play guitar on it and send it back. And like, yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. And so the guitarist, he's not in-house, he's in another location, and he'll receive the file and add to it and send it back? Or is it sort of like different rooms of the same complex?
No, it's just he's somewhere else, and then he'll send it back. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny because I've seen artists who have done music videos, and I guess through the end of COVID and whatnot, when everyone was in isolation, actual music videos and songs were recorded that way, where the pieces were just put together as if the people were together. I'm old school. I'm from I'm born in the late 60s, and so my concept is like, let's get the band in there and let's just play it all at once. But, thinking about your music, which is a great segue, because I wanted to ask you specifically about, if you want me to, and this is also something you can find in High Maintenance and maybe what we'll see in your upcoming single in January, but the blend of instrumentation in your songs is so intricate and interesting. It's a collective mix of different sounds, kind of melodically blending with your voice and then moving away from your voice, and then your voice is solo in front and the sounds are taking a back seat. I wanted you to maybe describe some of those, you mentioned the computer earlier, some of those electronic sounds, and like where you go to find them, if they're generated from musicians generally, what you like to put in there, that kind of thing, because it's really unique. It's not just a straight up, here's, you got your bass guitar and your electric guitar, and it's jam-packed with really fun sounds.
Yeah, so that is, as far as finding the sounds and stuff and putting all the production together, I'm not very good with technology. It's really funny, actually. I'm kind of like an old lady. But Alex is really great. He finds them, and then we kind of, we talk about whether it feels too, I don't know. I use really weird words. Like, sometimes to me, basses sound like farts. Uh-huh. So if it sounds too much like a fart, I tell him to, change that. Or, and then one thing I feel when I'm putting, or when I'm hearing people put sounds with my vocals, whatever words that I'm saying, they have feelings to me.
Of course.
And I want that to be reflected in the song.
So do you express, prior to making the song, do you say, you know what, this is really what I'm singing about and this is what I'm feeling, kind of lay out the emotion behind the song so that your producers can say, oh, well, I think I can find a fart for that, or, a corresponding sound, or do you even go deeper and say, this is what I'm feeling and I feel like it should be this kind of tone? Or is it just that the conversation you guys have back and forth and they'll say, well, let's try this and this and this, and it's a hunt and peck, and then, oh, that sounds good. Do you carry with you, when you're generating in the songwriting process, and the emotion, like the sounds that you want to be coming out?
Yeah, I actually, it's funny. Yesterday when we were recording, he was putting this piano sound with the track, and I was like, "Wow, that's really great. It sounds like she's crying." And I was talking about the piano, and like it just like felt right. And usually when I come in with a song, I have a recording of it. We play it. I explain what I want it to feel like with words, and then I'll have some inspiration songs as far as production goes and sound goes that we'll play, and then go from there.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah, it's such an amazing world, the capabilities of making music now. There's just so many things. You don't have to have an accomplished as artist who can play the mandolin, just mentioning that instrument again for whatever reason. They're in-house and paying them per hour or whatever to come in and do it. You can kind of find some samplings or find someone has put something there, and then you can blend it and go and try it in the moment. That's the greatest thing. Like, I want to grab that. I just find it's such a creative time, which brings me back to the songwriting. I really wanted to talk to you about songwriting in general, because I know you're headed to college next year, so you're young, but you're also mature. The things that you write about are really great adult kind of messages and thoughts and feelings. And I wanted to kind of bring us back, now that we're getting back to the beginning, to when you were growing up. I read in the notes that your dad had a band and you listened to them in the basement, and that was super cool. Just kind of maybe walk us through that part, because I think that was probably where your songwriting feelings got going. And then how do you approach a typical song? I know they're all different, but where do you go? Are you words first with emotions, or do you a piano and a guitar doing melody first, or what's your typical way to generate a song? And talk about your upbringing a little too, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, like you said, my dad has played in bands since high school, so definitely my whole life. And I would listen to his band practice, and it was so cool to me. I would fall asleep all the time while they were practicing. Oh. And the person who writes like the songs for that band, his name's Bradley Cole Smith, and he's a great writer. And I think since I was so little, it was definitely subconscious, but like I would listen to the music, and I think it really, really influenced me. And another thing, as a kid, my mom, she would always sing to us, and I just loved listening to her sing, and I would make her sing the same songs over and over again. I made her sing a song from Ariel over and over again. Yeah, and she's always been super, super encouraging about my singing and my songwriting. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just overall encouraging me to move forward. And I started writing probably around the age of like 8. And those were, I say writing, but I mean like 30-second snippets of random words and that I forced my family to listen to. And yeah, well, my brothers, they would close their ears, but it's okay. I don't blame them. But I started really learning to songwrite when I started taking vocal lessons. I was like 13. And the way I write, most of the time, I just kind of, like, whether I decide I want to write or I feel like I'm going to write, I sit down with either my ukulele or the piano, and I just kind of start playing around with chords till something feels good. And I really, I just kind of improv for a while with melodies and words even, until something, comes up or sticks. And it's funny, I actually find a lot of inspiration typically for the first lines of my song from something in the room, like a book I see, or I don't know, like an animal that ran outside, or a color. A lot of that typically inspires the beginning of my songs.
And then you start strumming, or you start playing, and you start thinking about wherever that takes you, and jotting down. I know in the notes I read you have notebooks filled with just lyrics after lyrics. And I don't know, I'm going to take you back a little ways. Have you heard of the band Rush?
I've heard of them, yes. I haven't listened to them a lot.
Okay, yeah, they're an acquired taste. They were inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but it was a long road. But anyway, what reminds me of that is the drummer was the lyricist of the band, very prolific, writer. He wrote several books in addition to the lyrics for the band, and people always wonder and suspect, like in your situation, are there notebooks laying around? Because he passed away a couple of years ago, tragically through cancer, and left all this great music with intricate lyrics. But we have to wonder, is there more? Was there more to be said that never got put into music? And so how do you handle that with your archives of things? Do you go back and go, I remember that thought. Where is that? Is that in binder 4? Is that in 6? Or are they just kind of shelved and you're working with fresh stuff constantly now? Or is it a mix? Because it sounds like from the notes that I have here that you, since you've been writing for so long, you've got a lot that you could kind of wrangle into music.
Yeah, and I'm so bad at keeping my things organized. I cleaned out my room recently, actually, and I kept finding like random sheets of paper, and I'm like, wow, that's a song. Like I wrote that. When did I write that? So it's kind of fun. It's like a treasure hunt. But I do have certain songs that kind of stick out to me. Like a song that I'm recording right now, I wrote it like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I do keep certain ones around. But I think all artists kind of feel this way, or at least a lot of artists feel this way, but the most recent stuff is like your favorite. And then you kind of move past old stuff, or I don't know. At least I do.
No, it makes total sense. And when we think about artists in the generic sense and the stereotypical sense, it's usually you're constantly thinking and you're constantly producing, and that's your gift. And your gift is not necessarily in the organization. It's not in the technical aspects. It's not knowing the names of all the buttons on the console in the room, because you're in for the feels, and I totally get that. I think that's why I was probably never an accomplished singer or musician. I played drums for a while, but I'm more on the other side. I'm very organized, and it seems like one or the other. So I have a quick tip for you. I have to ask you this: as a typical teenager, are you pretty attached to your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. One thing you could do to just preserve you and the world potential to hear what you've got to say is just take your camera out and scan all of those pages, and they'll all be at least in one place. They'll all be on your phone.
That's really.
Yeah, that's my wife taught me that. She's like, look, you can scan with your iPhone and you can keep documents. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, no worries. So friends, family, are you like a rock star walking around school and your friends are like, what's next? What's next? I can't wait to hear. And they're in the front row at your shows. I mean, do you have a really good core support group?
My friends and family are super supportive, but I'm actually, my circle's pretty small. I'm not the most like naturally outgoing. Not like I'm always open to meeting new people, and I love meeting people. I tend to have a bit of a smaller like inner circle. Mm-hmm. And they're like, it's not that many people, and I tend to share like the whole process with a lot of them. So like when I write the song, I send it to them. It's starting to get produced, I send it to them. And then it's finished getting produced, I send it to them. So I think they get really excited about the whole process as well, because it's fun, it's exciting. And yeah, they're very supportive, like just encouraging and positive. And I'm really, really lucky in that sense.
Yeah, it's funny. You remind me a little bit. I don't know if you know of Wilkes. He goes by Wilkes, like you have a stage name. His real name is Jason Wilkes. He's actually a neighbor of mine, but he was on The Voice and is kind of doing his thing too in music. But that's his deal. Is he loves the spotlight when he plays and when he makes music, but naturally is a sort of just quiet person and with his small group too. And so I think that's kind of, it's nice because you can let everyone else be the loud and and whatever else. But that allows you to be more introspective. And I would love to get previews of your songs if I could get in that circle. I love to see music in its generation, like just when things are evolving. And I just think that's amazing, because then you get the freshness before everything is sort of polished up and you can hear what's behind it. I pulled out a quote from the notes that you had written. I wrote down, "Failure is the best teacher." And I love kind of using the artists that I speak with as to way to impart wisdom on anyone who wants to make any sort of living in the arts or on a stage, because it is trying and there's lots of ups and downs, is what I've been told. So can you speak a little bit to maybe the failures that you've had and what you've learned from them, and why that philosophy sort of is a good one for you to hold on to?
Yeah, so when I say failure is the best teacher, it comes from kind of like my past self, where I used to be very, very like much a perfectionist, and I wanted everything to be done right, so much to the point where I was afraid to try certain things. And if you're afraid to fail, you're never going to like get anywhere. And failures, I don't think failure is a negative thing. I think that every opportunity presents itself in different ways, and it's easiest for me to talk about it in a sense of fencing, because that's where I first learned it. So if I have a competition where did we talk about fencing yet?
We haven't, so thank you for bringing it up.
Oh, God. Well, I'm a fencer. I'm an athlete. I have been fencing for 10 years, and I love it. So.
Well, let's stop there and tell us why you love it, and tell us about it, because I mean, I'll give you my vision is, again, like I was telling you, what I think music recording studio looks like. You've got the helmet on with the grid in the front of your face so you don't get poked in the eyes, and you've got some white clothing on that's probably fairly padded. You have specific stances you have to be in. Your other arm, I think, has to be behind your back. You slide forward and backwards. And I think that there's a little thing at the end of the saber. Is it called a saber or a sword? That makes it not lethal. But what beyond that, or am I wrong? And take us through, when did you get into it, and what it means to you, and your future with it, and all that.
So there's 3 types of fencing. There's épée, foil, and saber.
Okay. I
do saber fencing, where so the saber is different for saber fencing. Like, they don't have the thing on the top of it. It's because you can hit with like the whole saber. For foil and épée, you can only hit with the tip of the saber, which is why there's a little thing on it. Oh. And none of the sabers are sharp. Like, it's not dangerous like that. Mm-hmm. The main like differences is the target area. So foil, you can only hit on the chest. Épée, you can hit everywhere, and saber, you can hit anywhere from the waist up.
Okay.
So okay, I do saber, and I started fencing. I really started fencing just because my older brother was doing it. He did a camp, and he won the tournament at the end of the camp. So he started fencing, and then I was there all the time waiting for him. My younger brother too. Uh-huh. And one day we just decided we were going to join practice, and we did, and it stuck.
Oh, wow. And so you've done competitions all along the way, and you have taken many, many, many classes. Do you do any teaching with it? And sort of where do you see that for next year and on down the road for you?
Yeah, I've been competing really the whole time I've been fencing, and it's been such a wonderful experience. Not only all like the lessons I learn in competitions, and like about myself, and kind of about like life and processes and goals in general, mm-hmm. but like I've gotten to travel to so many places. Like, I've gotten to go to World Cups, so I've been to other countries and seen other cultures, and I really like trying foods from other countries.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think like it's really cool to be in a room with people from like over 10 different countries. Like, that's super cool. said, that experience has been really unique, and like I'm very fortunate to have had that.
So, I think I saw in the notes that you're looking to go to Notre Dame next year. They have a fencing. Would you'd be on the fencing team exactly, or a club, or are you going to scale it up or scale it down, or kind of keep it mixed in? Because I don't see music ever going away for you, and I hope it would blossom into something really big for you. But for now, what I see is that the fencing is really strong and the music is really strong, and probably you have a social life and your family, so you're balancing all these things. But next year you're going to have some classes to take and whatnot. How do you see the balance kind of continuing? Is that what you'd like to see?
Yeah, so Notre Dame I'm committed to, and I'll be on their fencing team.
Okay.
And it's a big commitment. They practice a lot and they practice very hard, and I'm super excited. But I'm not going to stop writing and recording and releasing music. That's just as important to me. School is just as important to me as well. And I had to learn really early on how to manage the different things that I want to do and like to do through, of course, like typical kind of time management stuff, planners, and just understanding that sometimes one goal or passion of yours has to take a little bit of a backseat to another one. It doesn't mean you're like not good at that anymore. Just if you have a lot of goals and a lot of things that you want to do, sometimes you have to give it all attention. And if you do it at different times, I think it keeps me from getting burnt out or frustrated. So if I like focus a little bit, like slightly more on music for a month and then slightly more on fencing for a month, when I come back to the music stuff I did next month, it's like a new perspective or a new idea.
That outlook is insanely adult, and I don't know if people in your circle tell you this, but my head was going back to when you just self-described as an old lady in the studio, and I'm thinking I'm talking to a 35-year-old woman who has been through all these things in life and learned all these lessons, and now has her stuff together, and she knows she can do this and she can do this and has all these abilities. But you're still so young, and I can't even fathom me at that same age. I was like, oh, rock concerts and cars and girls and okay, school. Right? You're so accomplished. You have music out. You're an accomplished fencer. You've gotten into a great school. You're going to be on their fencing team. It's mind-boggling to me, and I applaud you for being able to do that and to be at the age you are and know that you can balance those things and not let it get to you too much, which actually I think that could segue us into mental health and education. You mentioned those two things as like interests of yours. Where did that all come about? Do you like teaching music? Do you like teaching fencing? Do you like just teaching in general? What part of those things kind of get you going?
Well, my grandma was a teacher. Both my grandmas were teachers. So we have like, I guess, education in the family. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy learning and learning new things. And I want like everyone to have access to quality education. And I don't think that we have that right now. And I think that's kind of lame. I think that we stifle a lot of kids, like not only creativity, but their like passions and confidence in school, because it's pretty easy to like not get straight A's and just be like think you're unintelligent. But there's so many different types of intelligence and so many different types of being smart that I think we're missing in education right now. Of like the kid that can fix like a car is a different kind of intelligent than the kid that can write a perfect essay, but they're both super smart. It's not like one is better than the other.
I totally get that. The Department of Education could probably use you at a national level. What would you do if you were superintendent of Georgia schools today, because who knows, maybe he's listening to this podcast. What would you recommend, or what policies would you change immediately in today's public schools to kind of maybe bridge that gap? Because I totally agree with you. At the school where I work, we have that. We have a career tech department where kids can work on cars. They, of course, take their core classes, but they can get certified as an automotive specialist and get a job right out of school doing that very thing. Welding, construction, you name it. And then you've got kids who are the academic route and going to college, but speak to like how you would, because you've seen it, obviously, you've seen the kids who haven't been reached. What would you do, like if you were the teacher or maybe the principal or superintendent, to kind of like effectively make some change? What would you love to see?
I think, okay, in a perfect world, like a lot would change. And I think getting there realistically is very challenging. And I want to study this some in college too. And I'm taking like government classes right now in school. So I understand that the issues are very complicated, but I think that for one, the public schooling system needs more funding, and we need better, like, we need to pay teachers more and like value them as like really important members of society more, because they have so much like impact and power over the direction of the children that they're teaching live. And I think the standardized testing system is not great. And I think it's really interesting that I took like psychology classes, and we learned a lot about like how you think best and how you focus best and how like you learn best. And we learn all that. And then I'm lucky to go to a school that's a little bit different, but in like public schools and stuff, they're doing everything the opposite of that. Like they're not being fed quality, good food. They're being asked to sit down for 7 hours a day and like hour-long periods. Humans are not meant to do that. We're not meant to focus for that amount of time sitting down with no physical activity. And the types of lighting, even like fluorescent lights and the blue lights from the phones, are not great. And it's just not ideal learning. And then
keep going.
I find it really interesting how it's common to tell people in their job when they go work for 8 hours to go home and step away and talk with their family and get outside, go for a run. But we tell kids when they go to school for 7-8 hours to go home, study, do homework, come back, and go to school again. There's no end.
Oh my goodness. You have so much in your brain to contribute positively to the world. And I really had no idea, just reading about you and listening to your songs. And that's what I love about this podcast and getting to have real conversations with artists, is we generally don't, as fans, don't get to see that. We hear the songs on stage, we see the music video on YouTube, and we don't get to hear the deep, intricate thoughts. And I am just overwhelmed by how prepared you are to give us and the future generations of the world great stuff. I can't even tell you how much I look forward to seeing where you make your mark and what you do in the next 4 years of school or beyond. Was there a particular teacher that you could point to that inspired you and kind of gave you the thought of, well, that person is really helping me mold my, because you're right, it's 7 hours. And the kids spend a long time at school, maybe more time there than at home in certain cases, or in front of their adults. So was there someone who kind of got you going? And would you ever see yourself in a classroom environment teaching, like in a direct level like that? Or do you kind of feel like you could make better change and more effective change in a bigger arena?
I think that if I wanted to, like, of course I want to, but like if I were to pursue, like creating bigger change, I think it would be very important for me to spend time first in the classroom with kids to really get like first experience on what's going on, because then I'll have a better understanding of like what really needs addressing.
Mm-hmm.
I would honestly, I've had so many great role models in my life. Like I mentioned, my grandma was a teacher, and she was a different kind of teacher too. She was very hands-on, and I think hands-on learning is important for a lot of kids, like a lot more than we think.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, she's very passionate about education as well, and she has taught both me and my brothers, like all our lives, that not like how we do in school does not define us, how like those specific things, and really made sure we knew like the value of learning rather than just getting good grades.
Mm-hmm.
And she taught us like how to learn, really. My older brother, he's at Duke right now, and his journey to get there was like, it was unique, but he worked really, really hard. And I've seen a lot of people do really well in school, and I've seen a lot of people not do really well in school. So
Yeah.
my
Go ahead.
advisor for the past 4 years at my school right now, which is the different kind of school, she really, really inspires me. I can tell she has such a passion for teaching and cares about all the kids like individually, and I think that's really special.
That is great to hear, because I know in certain schools the advisors are sort of overwhelmed, the counselors, and there's so many kids, and I'm so glad to hear that you've got like a personal connection, because they're making, like, they're bridging that gap for you and helping you with deadlines and whatnot, and looks like to me to be having real conversations with you about, you know, where you want to be and what you want to do, and I love to hear that. Oh my goodness, yes. Let's move a little bit back into music. Do you have certain go-to gear items? Like it seems like when I talk to people, they're either one camp or the other. They're like, oh yeah, I just, I got this guitar at a garage sale or whatever, and I've been using it, and when it breaks, I'll get another one. And there's others that are like more gearheads that are like, I've been using Fender Strat since the day I was born, and whatever, and they're encamped in the things that they love. Are you particular about certain brands or certain types of things, or is it just whatever does the job?
Right now, I'm definitely not super particular, but I have a feeling like as I get older, I'm going to become pretty particular. My dad is super particular, and I think I just need to learn more in order to become pretty particular.
Yeah, I think what happens is as you play the various instruments, you'll notice which tone suits you the best, because they do vary, especially in guitars, and that probably will happen, because you're right. It seems like the younger artists out there, like, I'll play what I can get my hands on, and the other older ones are like, I've been playing this one and I just love it. I wouldn't go anywhere else. So I was just curious. I always like to ask that question, because I love to hear the range of answers. So we have college coming up for you. We have music that will continue. Can you tell us a little bit about It's Not My Fault, maybe where the song came from originally, and what we can kind of expect? That's going to drop on January 13th is what I've got in my notes. Kind of, paint that song for us, because obviously we can't hear it yet, but if you can describe it and tell us a little bit about it and where it came from, and maybe what you like about it and whatever, that would be awesome for us to hear, because then we can expect its arrival on the 13th.
Yeah, so I love this song, and it's very different, I would say, from If You Want Me To. I mean, it's still like me, but it has a bit more of a rock feel, and it's very straightforward. So it's basically a song that I wrote after my friend, who had been a friend for like a few months, confessed their feelings to me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first met them, I told them, like, we had a whole conversation about how I was not looking for anything. I would not be looking for anything anywhere in the future. And they're like, okay, cool. Yeah, we're just friends. So when they like wrote this long, heartfelt thing about how they really like me, I was like, I mean, no, because yeah, no. And I wasn't like mean about it then.
Right.
So I said no, and that's all fine until they were so upset. Like, they were so upset after that. And I was like, this is not my fault. So it's kind of like, I don't know, we weren't friends after that either. It was like they couldn't get over, I don't know. It's kind of a song about my annoyance. I was just very frustrated with the situation because, like, I established what was there and you didn't listen, so, like, you did this to yourself.
No, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You were super clear about it, and it's so funny because the same thing happened to me. The very same thing happened to me, and I'm not connected with that person anymore. And of course, I went on to much greener pastures, and I'm happily married and all that. But it's one of those things like, and it's a great topic for a song because it's universal, and I think a lot of people face it. And I like your approach of it because it's coming from integrity and it's coming from honesty. You said you declared how you wanted it to be from the beginning, and it's a difficult line to cross because when someone crosses it with passion and they really want it to happen and then they're turned away, it's a big disappointment. And however they deal with it is on them. And that brings us to the title, back to you, of It's Not My Fault, because you were there the whole time with it. And I'm looking forward to this song. It'll have a special meaning for me. That is great. Okay, so we're looking at ellakate in 10 years. What might you be doing? What would, if you could have the crystal ball, and I know there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of experiences, so this is not a guarantee on what it'll be, but if you just took yourself today and took the things away that, just detracted you from your dreams, ideally in 10 years, what would you love to be engaged in and doing?
10 years. Okay, I'll be 28 in 10 years. Wow.
Uh-huh.
I would love to have gotten, like, performed a lot, maybe even have gone on tour. I think that would be the coolest thing ever. I would love to have created a lot more music and, like, developed as an artist more, just learned more about songwriting as a craft and worked with lots of other musicians and learned from them. I really hope that I am, like, in a career in music.
Easily could happen, in my humble opinion.
Thank you.
Of course.
So that's the dream. I hope that I am so passionate then about, like, spreading education and mental health awareness. And if I have some sort of platform and voice, like, using it to spread knowledge about those sorts of things and just keep sharing my stories and music. And it would be so cool to do music videos too, or even, like, long songs with like Taylor Swift did with the 10-minute version.
Mm-hmm.
Like short films like that. That would be crazy. That would be so cool.
Oh, I could easily see that within you because your spark and your passion and your intelligence with all this and the ability to balance it. If anyone could do it, I can only imagine you could. You remind me a lot of Selena, and when I say Selena, you're probably going to think of Gomez, but I'm actually referring to Quintanilla, the Selena from years ago. If you don't know that story,
no, I know Selena.
Okay, yeah, it's just multifaceted, talented person who dabbled in several things, not just music, but brought integrity and just forthrightness into everything that she did, and I see that in you. So
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to where that is in 10 years. Keep tabs on you. Well, it has been an amazing conversation. We went into a lot of different directions that I hadn't expected, and that's the great thing about just having a real good talk. And I would love to talk to you again anytime. Before we go, let us know exactly how you'd like people to reach you. A lot of people just mention, I've got a link tree here and you can get all my things, or everything's on my website. However you would like to describe where people can connect with you, go for it.
So my Instagram and TikTok are both ellakate music, and my website is ellakate.com. I try to respond to a lot of the DMs that people send me. So, like, if you want to get in contact, DM me. If I don't respond, you can DM me again. Like, don't be shy about double texting because I miss things a lot. And I love reading comments on all my posts, feedback, anything. My Spotify and Apple Music, it's ellakate. I would love for anyone listening to listen to my music. And yeah.
Yeah, and I've talked to many people, and I'm sure you'll agree that really the best way to support an independent artist, someone who's not fully touring and backed by a label and whatnot, is to like the music, share the music. Are you doing merch? Is that something yet for you?
It's gonna come.
Okay.
Like, it's coming. It's
coming. I can only imagine. Which is a random question before we close. It reminds me of merch for whatever reason. Where was the photo shot for If You Want Me To? It was a subway somewhere.
In Marta.
It was Marta. Okay.
Yeah.
It had a really New York feel to me for some reason, just the coloring and the way that you were standing, looking at the blur. But good old Marta. That's great.
Yeah.
Dress it up. Yeah, I could see merch for you. And so back to my point is the best way to support you is through those things. Comments, like you said, just to kind of know, what people are liking about the music and whatnot. Those are super meaningful, and I've had everyone say that. So those of you listening to her and love her music, please reach out in those ways. And it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to see what's coming next. Please keep me in the loop. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You'll hear her say how she loves you. Ooh, if you want me to. Maybe I don't even know why I miss you all the time. You know me, at least you think, but do you even think about me? But if you want me to, I'll be there for you through all of your fears. I'll make them disappear. If you want me to, I'll make your dreams come true. Oh, every day you'll hear her say how she loves you. I'll be there for you through all of your fears. I'll make them disappear. If you want me to, I'll make your dreams